blast off, hopefully.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
I haven't got notification yet.
Okay. It says I'm live.
Yep.
It says I have picture. This is exciting.
I see you.
Yay! Woohoo! Oh, yay! I love when it goes smooth.
Well, you look great.
Thanks! I actually finally colored my own hair. It only took me like 4 months. Good morning or afternoon or evening, everybody jumping on. Thanks for joining. Hello, everybody.
It's always interesting when they're like, "Hi, Jessica," and I'm like, "Which Jessica?"
Which Jessica? Both. Jessica squared this time. It's easy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This Monday, start of the week.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, Alicia makes it easy. Hi, little Jess.
Hi. Hi, Alicia. Hello, everyone. This is so nice. Hello. Yay. Thanks, everyone, for joining. All right.
Kickstart, babe, if you like.
Yeah, let's go. It is 101, so we will get started with Express Lightning today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world, or whenever you might watch this on a rewind. My name is Jessica Bartolucci, and I'm a Keune Academy Trainer, and I am super excited to bring to you today Express Lightning with Keune. I have developed 2 looks that you can kind of take out of this, utilizing 20 foils, which I think is like just really exciting, something that everybody needs behind the chair. I know myself, sometimes I'm behind the chair and my client might want a giant look and I might not have the time to give it to them. So this technique is something that we can easily apply behind the chair and make a really, really big dynamic impact for our client while utilizing minimal foiling. On the phone today, I have Miss Jessica Mills. She is VP of Education and Shows for Keune North America, and she is going to be helping me as you guys leave comments if you have questions or anything like that. She'll feed them to me, and we can make this really easy and seamless. For today's class. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have my mannequin Emma here, bring her off this. All right, so Emma has on 2 sides of her head the 2 different looks that we're gonna do. So this one on her left side of her head, think right side for you, you'll see that we have a little bit more of a spill of a color and like a little bit more of the shadow happening. And then if we go, so on this side, and then if we go onto this right side of color, you'll see that you still get more of a dynamic impact, but she has a little bit more of that dimension running through. So hopefully you guys can see that. Leave a thumbs up or say yeah in the comments if you do. And then following all the way around her head, we'll shake her out and break out her curls a little bit. Give her a good little shake. There we go. We can definitely see the high impact that you get, but you still have a lot of dimension, and that's what makes me really excited about this look. Following through, she has a little bit of a shorter do, but following underneath, you can see the spill of the color all the way around her head if we tilt this up. So this is definitely great for people or clients and guests if they wear their hair up in ponytails. It's summer, it's like 80 degrees here in Buffalo, New York right now. So if somebody really enjoys seeing that highlight all the way around their face, this is definitely something that you can utilize and gift to your client. Cool. So I will swap her out, pop her up there, and grab the benchmark that we're going to do today. Perfect. So we are going to utilize a little bit of a darker hair mannequin today, which I'm super excited about. And on that, I'm going to be utilizing the Ultimate Blonde powder from Keune. So our Ultimate Power Blonde here is going to give me up to 8 levels of lift on natural hair. So if I'm looking to go, again, up to 8 levels of lift, I'm definitely going to be grabbing for my Ultimate Blonde. And definitely throughout this too, like powder and lightning choices and what you're going to be utilizing can really help with that express technique as well. Inside of my formula, I am going to put in a little bit of a blue booster for her lightener. What the blue booster is going to do is it's going to help get rid of that like pale yellow that happens as you're lifting for that undertone. So you'll see right there, perfect. So you can see that nice little blue. So it's going to help to cool off and neutralize any of that unwanted warmth that is in your client's hair. So especially if they're looking to go from like a level 1 to like a level 8 or 9, Blue Booster is going to be like your best friend. It's a little like superhero in a little like packet. I'm pretty obsessed with that. So here again, just kind of like mix that all on up in there and get that ready to go. How are we doing out there? Any questions so far? Are we excited? Everyone good, Jess?
Great.
Cool. Very cool. So with that, I am going to take this mixing brush and I'm going to set it aside because clean brushes are our best friend, especially when it comes to foiling and more of like a precision style application. So we're going to begin in the back of her head with the foils. What I like to say, a little bit of like a studio tip, is to frame the whole picture. So a lot of times what happens is our clients are like, I don't know, I'm just feeling really like dark. And they might have a lot of lightness around their face to begin with, right? But they're just like, I don't know, I still am feeling not bright. So if we frame the whole picture, if you think about if you've ever like put a mat on a frame or a photo like in your house, you don't just do like the top and the sides, right? And that's, our picture is going to be a lovely guest face, right? So if we just frame the top and the sides, we're completely forgetting about the bottom and this interior. And having that spill of color that comes through is really, really key and can really help your guests feel like they have lighter, brighter hair by utilizing, I mean, here we have 3 foils. So you may find that there's a time that you could only use 3 foils on the bottom to really give your guests like that look that they're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're just going to section out behind the ear and we're just going to do a diagonal forward line. So I'm going to go all the way around pretty much right where like the halo of the head is, take a big horseshoe and just section this hair out here. And I'm going to go pretty deep around, if you can see that kind of like U shape, because I want to make sure I have a lot of the hair that's on top here to put into the foil for the top, which is going to give me that beautiful spill of color. So I'm going to take this and just clip her away and focus on the side or the back first. Give her one extra one for good measure. Awesome. Then when we bring to the back here, what we're going to do is start out at the tip of the ear. So I don't know if you guys can tell on the photo right here, but if you can see, we're going to utilize 1 foil on each side. So instead of putting multiple foils back here, making it really heavy and dense, because a lot of the times I know hair underneath right around the hairline can be very like fine too. So when we add more foil to it, the foil can be heavy and cause slippage. And it's kind of like an awkward position. I don't know if you guys agree, like when you're trying to like foil in the back of that neck right there. So what we're going to utilize is, again, 1 foil on each side, kind of in like a V or like a off L-shaped pattern, if you will. So what I'm going to do is first focus on grabbing this hair right behind the ear, and we're going to section off, going down, and then I'm going to meet into the middle, like right into like the nape of that hair. So depending on the density of her hair, how much hair she has, you definitely don't want to take a section that's too large because you really want to focus on, being able to get the product onto all of the hair. So I wouldn't like section out maybe any larger than like an inch, ½ inch to an inch. So you'll see here, it's very slight. It's nothing crazy, but you can see that there's just a little bit of that kind of L shape or that V right there. Now, my personal preference when I foil out as well is I don't prefer like a perfect line in my partings, because I think if you have like a small little bit of like zigzag, it just helps to create like a little bit more of a natural end result. But if you like a clean, perfect section, that's totally up to you, and you can do that as well. So starting out, I'm going to grab a big foil like this. So this is a 8 by 10 foil piece. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to fold my foil piece in half. And if you can see, this line here is going to be matching and marrying that foil up there and how my section is right here. So I'm making my foil work for me rather than placing a straight edged foil on a top with a different sectioning. So now that I have my foil nice and folded on the side there, we're just going to focus on taking out a weave placement to the hair. So again, going back to framing the whole picture, if I were to pick up this hair right here in the back, so this first section, and leave that out and not foil this, when her hair is down, then it's still going to look dark. So I want to focus on when this piece drops, that it's going to be light and bright for her to frame that whole face. So here we're going to go into a little bit of that sectioning there. And personally, I like to just leave like this, like the bottom portion out. So then when they do put it up, it kind of has that like natural diffused look. If they definitely want more of a solid demarcation, can you go in and absolutely color that? Yes. But this way, again, you just get a little bit more of that nicer blend. So from there, what I like to do here is just take my lightener on my brush and just give like a little bit right onto that foil, because then what's going to happen for me when I put this on there, it's going to stick to the hair a little bit better, and then I can go on in and apply my lightener and have my foil work for me. So all of this too is for us to work a little bit smarter, not harder, as they say, which I think is definitely great for those little time-saving tips and tricks behind the chair. So I'm going to go in and apply my lightener onto those mid-lengths and ends, and then what we're going to do is just with the tip of the brush there, I'm just going to work in a vertical manner and just kind of help to diffuse this up as well. So this look is definitely going to lend to a little bit more of that like lived-in natural grow out too, since we're not right on top of that scalp with the foil. So again, my foil and my placement is working for me. So then say we have to go in and do like a little bit of a toner, we kind of have that drop happening naturally in the back of that hair. So from there, when you have that all nice and colored up, you can just take your foil and you have that nice little packet in the back of the head. Yes. Do we have a question?
Yes. What volume did you use, and did you only use one booster?
Oh, great question. So what volume did I use, and did I only use one booster? So I went with 30 volume, because you can use 10, 20, and 30 volume when it comes to the Power Blonde. I chose 30 because she's kind of a mannequin. I'm going to get like my best lift with that 30 volume. If you are looking to go a little bit like softer, or you're worried about like being in that foil packet, you can definitely use 10 or 20 depending on the level in your canvas. And I did only utilize one booster because I find that one booster really does give me like what I'm looking for at my end result. Hopefully that answers the question for you.
Yes, excellent.
Awesome. So now that we are in this little bit of the nape area here, and I know that I left off taking this piece with my highlight, so I'm just going to leave like a little baby piece out right there, and then do the same thing, go in with that deep V stitching. So hopefully, there we go. You guys can kind of see that in there. And then again, do the same thing with my big foil. Take my foil and give that a little bit of a crossover, creating my natural sectioning that's going to marry just the section on her head. Go on through, give myself something for her hair to stick to, and place that right on top. Perfect.
So question, Jess, how does that look if the client's going to wear their hair up?
Yeah, so if the client is going to wear their hair up, let me grab my benchmark for you. Okay, cool, that's stuck. Good stuff, right? Okay, so this is exactly how I applied the back of her hair. So if your benchmark is gonna wear her hair up, if you guys can see, like it just gives you that really soft diffused look. It is a little bit like chunkier because I am taking bigger sections. If your client isn't into like the chunkier feel that's kind of like creeping back into the style these days, you can absolutely take smaller sections and go with like a medium stitch or like a baby stitch or a microweave if you'd like. But I think it really is nice because you still get that diffused look here. And because we're leaving this bottom hair out, that's going to give you a little bit more of like an insurance, as I call it, just so it doesn't sit right on top of the scalp, and it gives a really, really easy grow out for your guest. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and is it thicker the hair, the thinner the section? This is the next question.
So if the hair is thicker, the thinner the section is the question? Okay, so if the hair is thicker, would you go thinner sections? I definitely would say like you want to make sure your sections are enough that you're getting full saturation to your guest. That being said, if you go thinner sections and or thinner like weaves and sections and you do a lot of them, you're going to kind of like negate and lose that dimension. So if you can go more in like a medium stitch, that would definitely be more beneficial to like the end result if you want to leave in dimension. However, if you're looking for like a pop and like dynamic blonde, then definitely smaller sections are going to be your friend. Does that answer the question for you? Hopefully, whoever asked that. Cool.
Brittany.
Oh, thank you, Brittany, for that question. So moving forward, now that we have the two sections that are there, what we're going to do next is go right into the middle of these two foils. So there we go. Now you guys aren't getting that little reflection from the light. So I'm going to go right into the middle and just take this piece down right here into that middle section. And this is where I'm actually going to change the foil that I'm utilizing. So for this section, I'm actually going to use a foil that is just a little bit like longer and a little bit skinnier on top because that actually marries my section into here. The other reason that I really like to focus on what size foil and what foil I'm utilizing is because I feel like it just like cuts down on like waste as well for how much foil you're using. If you're using like a giant foil for an itty bitty space, it's just a whole lot more to like maneuver. So I think that's something that definitely helps as well. So in here, I'm definitely going to focus on, again, what we're picking up and what was previously lightened below. So since I know that this piece that's on top right below was lightened, I'm going to leave that out to help create my dimension. So I'm just going to have nice, beautiful 3 strands here, and that's why I'm going with my smaller foil application as well. Place that on down and give that a lighten. I'm just going to elevate my foil a little bit up so then I can get closer to the scalp. Or if you don't want to get close to the scalp, you can absolutely keep the elevation a little bit lower. Try to elevate a little bit because if you have that complete 0, then you're going to get like a harsher line of demarcation for the lightener. And then again, that definitely depends if you're going to go through and like give a shadow root at the end or tone, then we can always kind of negate that in there as well at the end. So from there.
So Jess, can you describe the technique as you're working a little bit more, like how you came up with it? The question, I think we had some people come on a little after you started.
Oh, yeah.
The question is, what's this technique?
Awesome. So this technique is called express lightning. You get a very dynamic end result. If you didn't see the benchmark, I'll pop her up here again. So you get a dynamic end result just utilizing 20 foils. So it's working smarter, not harder. And then we'll get 2 looks out of it depending on the angle that you do on top. So one way you're going to get a little bit more of that shadow root application, and the other way you're going to get a lot more of that spill of that blonde that comes on in there. Cool. Hopefully that answers the question and catches you guys up to speed on what we're doing today. So moving upward from there with the 3 foils, we're gonna move up again with going more on a diagonal back. So what I like to do here is, again, I'm going to take out a little bit more of that like subsection. I'm probably going to leave about at least half an inch in between. So you don't want to go like right on top of this foil. Again, we're going to leave a lot of dimension to the hair. And I think like one of my biggest struggles is always leaving enough hair out and being afraid that I'm not doing enough. But I've really found that sometimes in these looks, like almost like less is more, because you need that dark underneath for that bright to pop and like look brighter. Because bright's always going to look brighter next to something dark than it is next to something light. Hope that makes sense. So from here, what we're going to do again is take that stitch out. And it's always just dependent, again, like when you're having that consultation with your client. Do they want something that's a little bit more like lived in and natural? Then you're going to go for more of that stitch application. Do they want something a little bit like bolder maybe? Then you can always go for like a slice or something like that, like a different sort of weave, if you will. So definitely that's going to be all consultation. Whether you decide to stitch or slice is totally up to like you and your guest consultation. So again, what I'm making sure here is my outside stitch is going to be lightened, because if you can see here, that's where her ear is, right? So when that color drops, she's still going to get that really nice spill right in those like key points of the head where I feel like always happens to be like a black hole for some reason, because you're just like, oh, I thought I highlighted it, or I didn't highlight it enough. So this is going to be really helpful for you to do that. I know it's helped me, so I hope it helps you. Cool. So again, utilizing the size foil that matches my sectioning piece. And I just kind of like to like fold these guys up rather than these guys down. To fold the corners up because it kind of keeps everything tidy, like out of the way there. And I feel like when I fold this down, I have my color right there. So then I might get a little like holiday or spot or bleed or unwanted little line crease. So I like to fold up instead. And again, matching that right onto the other side here, making sure I grab the foils in there, or the sectioning in there, using my smaller foil and placing that right on down.
So Jess, we had somebody miss how you were explaining. Half-inch section for darkness and then the sectioning for lightning. Can you explain that one more time?
Oh, absolutely. So as I'm working my way like up the hair and I'm like deciding how much hair to leave out underneath, I like to say leave out at least a ½ inch, because that darkness underneath is really going to make this brightness pop. If I were to start like stacking and not leave a lot of hair in between, it's just all going to become really bright. So you're going to lose that dimension that maybe, you know, you were looking for. Does that answer the question for who asked it? Yeah? Cool. Thank you for that question. So again, just back combing, kind of sliding that up into that area just to diffuse it so it's really nice and light and bright for us, so we don't have like a really hard throw out. And I think what's nice about this too is it's a really easy like touch up when your guest comes back, if they do like 8, 10, 12, 3 months, 4 months, right? You can really just kind of go back in and literally like pick up where you left off, because the sections are a little bit bigger. So I like that aspect as well, that like retouch is super easy for you. So then moving up the rest of the head here. Now I feel like a lot of the times, I know personally myself, I would like foil, and foil some more, because I'm like, oh, this is like the underneath and it just needs that brightness. So kind of going back to like leaving hair out and keeping it dark, that's like your friend. So we're just gonna pop in 2 foils in this space up here. And again, I mean, it definitely depends on like your client's like amount of hair, like shape of the head and everything else. But I have done this on like multiple clients, and I do find that like that 20 foils is really like key. I don't really ever have to go over it or under it, no matter like how much hair they like have, if it's like skinny or thick, how dense the hair is. So moving up the hair here, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, knowing that if I were to highlight this and put this down, so you'll see that I have a light piece here, a dark piece here, and a light piece here underneath. So I'm going to leave this out because I want that dark to really show through. So just being very conscious about what's in the hair as well. So depending, I'm going to grab a bigger foil here because this mannequin's got like a skinny head here, but sometimes what happens around here is the head starts to get a little bit wider and rounder, right? So if you go back to utilizing a bigger foil here, you get that easier adjustment to go straight across the head as well. So whether you have like multiple like pre-cut or ready for you at your station, yeah, I definitely find that that foil choice is absolutely key in the hair as well. And then even going into like having things be a little bit easier for you for that more like express service, you know, sometimes for hair, you might need to utilize different like lighteners. So again, we're utilizing the Power Blonde from Keune, which is going to give me up to 8 levels of lift. However, if you're looking for something, maybe she doesn't need that 8 levels of lift, you can always head into the Magic Blonde. So Magic Blonde is going to give us up to 7 levels of lift, and within the first 20 minutes, really like shoots out of that gate pretty fast. But it keeps the hair really nice and soft and the integrity intact as well. And then maybe you can like switch to Cream Blonde, which is kind of more like steady lifting lightener, like around the front of the face if they're already like pre-lightened or something like that as well. So having your like different blonde choices is really key too. Moving up, one more on top of the head here. I'm going to keep that gap in that space pretty thick. Hopefully you guys can see that there. And again, I'm going to go through, and on this one, since the one below I left out that outside, I'm going to incorporate that inside stitch here. It's especially key right up in this area to really, really keep some depth to the hair, because that's where I feel like a lot of times we just like lose it and you get that like spill of color that comes over and you're like, where'd everything go, right? Because everything lays when it is underneath the parietal ridge, right? So wherever the hair is it's where it's going to stay. So just really being conscious and listening to the hair in that regard as well. How are we doing out there? Pretty good?
Great. Perfect.
Cool.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you use foils instead of balayage because they get brighter?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Do you use foils instead of like open air balayage because it gets brighter? So I think it definitely just depends on, you know, what your end result is. You could absolutely go through and utilize, like we have Freedom Blonde, which is our kaolin clay lightener, and you could 100% do this application like foil free. So you go from 20 foils to no foils, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, just depending on your end result and what you're looking for. What I actually really like about our Freedom Blonde lightener is I have it here, so you can still put in this blue booster inside of the Freedom Blonde lightener. So if you feel like you enjoy more of like an open air experience when being like foil free, you can use the blue booster, and it helps to negate out and neutralize any of that unwanted warmth because it's not in its nice little like warm hut or foil, if you will. Does that answer your question, hopefully? So there's options. Options are great.
You love options.
I love options. I know, sometimes there's so many, you're like, where do I go? So that's it. Beautiful. Back is done. Perfect. 30 minutes. Perfect. So real time, we're like slowing down and like talking about the application and everything like that, right? So in real time, you could probably really get this done in like 30, 45 minutes, which is pretty cool. So on the side of her hair, we're just going to take out right along that temple. So from the high of the recession all the way back, and just clip that away. The side is where I like really love concentrating when I was like thinking about how to do this look, because again, it's like we put so much work in and sometimes we're just like, wait, where did all the dimension go and where did all my work go, right? So in here, it's really all about like your angles and knowing where your angles lie, right? So if I were to take my comb and put it more on like that horizontal, I know I'm going to get a heavier impact of color. Where the more that I angle it up, it's definitely going to be a softer diffused impact of color, but it's going to go further as well. So in here, again, depending on the consultation and what you had with your client, I'm going to take a slice here because I'm pretending that my client said that she wanted to have like a really big pop of color up front here. So what I'll do is just take my teasing comb and I'm going to give her one slight little back comb just to give a little bit of like a root smudge right up there. Now, if your guest was more so wanting something again right up front, it's all in the consultation and that setup, right? So we're going to go here, place my foil. Again, I'm heading back into that skinnier foil. And then applying the color right there too. Any other questions out there? We doing good?
We're doing great, babe.
Great, cool. So hopefully while you guys are watching this, if you find that maybe if you're back in the salon currently, you can like attach one of your guests to it and be like, hey, you know, I think Amanda would love this like hair color. And I think that's really fun too. When your clients come in and be like, hey, had some education, I was thinking about you, I think this would be beneficial for you. Just makes them feel, I think, special and loved as well, you know? So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna take off that clip that's on the top and I'm gonna slightly go into this front temple here. So this is your, as we all say, money piece, right? So I'm going to say that she has a middle part. If she parts to the left or the right, you can absolutely still do this technique. Just focus it on which way she parts her hair. So what we'll do here is I'm going to take my slice right on top there. And you'll see that it's a pretty big section. I always would go in with like super fine like weaves and stitches and 100 foils sometimes, and sometimes it's definitely needed. But if you need something that's a little bit quicker, this definitely can get like what you're looking for and what you're looking to achieve. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go back in and slice out that hair. And what I really love about this is I'm really making sure that I grab this hair here that's all around her like temple area. So if you want to highlight this, you absolutely can, or if you want to highlight what's on top, I'm going to give her a little bit more of that like softer diffused look, and we're going to go right in here. But you'll see right in that middle where that spill of color would be is going to be lightened, as well as this little area like right in that temple section is lightened as well, which I think is really key for like a successful, great money piece. Because I have my bigger section, I'm going with my bigger foil right across the head.
So Jess, can you explain, and I don't want to misunderstand Brittany's question,
Sure.
full saturation?
What, can I have that one more time? Sorry.
What you mean by full saturation to the front sections?
Oh, of like the product? So yeah, you want to make sure that your sections aren't so wide or like so thick that you can't get that like full saturation of your color from the front to the ends. Because even though it's express lightning and we're talking about like bigger sections, you want to make sure that that color can read right through, and it's not like super thick that it's not touching the underneath. Does that answer your question? That was Brittany that asked that, right?
We'll ask her if she, if that helps her out.
Yes. Let me know.
So just we had somebody on here that asked us to do a fast balayage program.
Oh, okay.
Do you think that your new 90s class that you did not long ago would be great for them?
Yeah, I think that would be. So it's super funny. Like as I was kind of creating that, I was thinking about the 90s and I was like, okay, so for this look about a month back, we did like a new 90s. So it was the modern take on a dynamic 90s highlight. So that's definitely a balayage factor. Again, if you want more open air, you can utilize a clay lightener, Freedom Blondes, or anything like that. So hopefully you can grab some tips and tricks on there. You can either go back on Facebook's catalog or go to KeuneEducation.com, and there's a whole catalog of just easy like click-throughs, and it heads right to the YouTube on any of those looks that you might be looking for. So hopefully that helps you. But yeah. Hopefully that answers the question, yeah? But I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, so for this section, if you happen to catch that 90s look that I did about a month ago or so, I don't know, time's escaping me lately. Sure, like last year. No, I'm kidding. Maybe like a month and a half ago. For this look, you want to take smaller sections than that one. So it's not quite chunky. It's more like medium or skinny or thick or whatever you want to say. Because I feel like definitely that 90s dynamic is that chunkier feel, right? So moving up into this, I want to make sure that I have one more money piece, and you'll see that because of this like giant U section, I can really grab and marry all of that hair together. So when it falls and spills, it's perfect. It's like, less foils and, more of a dynamic look. So I'm going to do one more across this top, just like so. And I'm going to really make sure that, again, this hole kind of like right here that doesn't have anything, I'm going to pick that up in my weave and go through. And take my large foil. Is there a question?
Yeah, well, Carly is asking, are your salons open yet? Theirs open on Saturday.
Oh, well, congratulations, and I hope that everything is going very well for you. That's always exciting to hear. Yeah, so I'm in Buffalo, New York, and our salons, I'm going to be going into week 4. However, we have New York City, so I'm not sure if salons in New York City are quite open yet. I know a lot of places are going county by county. But yeah, I've been in my salon for about 4 weeks now, and yeah, it does. It feels really great to be back. So I hope that you enjoy being back as well. And I think...
And I'm out here in Georgia, and we were the first to open.
Yeah. You guys were the first to open in Georgia, and I think our friends in Ireland, I think all their salons actually opened today, if I'm not mistaken. So...
And Debbie was sharing that the Netherlands have been open for 5 weeks.
Oh, for 5 weeks. Nice. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So hopefully everyone finding it to be like pretty, it feels good to be back, right? Like, I don't know, amongst everything.
Carly's in Bristol, England.
Bristol, England. Hi. Well, thanks for joining all the way from England. I'm trying to think. Time zones confuse me.
I think she's 5 hours
ahead. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for joining. So now that we are navigating onto the top of the head, this is where you can really like get your 2 looks with the 20 foils. So I'm going to hopefully not trip, but bring this a little closer for you guys. So if you guys can see here, this is going to be really key to the result and why having that consultation with your guest is so important. So what's going to happen here is you'll see that on my mannequin, I had the 2 different looks, right? So if your client wants, like, we'll call this like look 1, then definitely mirror this end result. If your client wants like look, we'll just say this 2, then mirror this on each side. So if you'll see here, so I have the foils on look 2, really kind of like pivoting off of each other, right? So they all have this like common point where they start. Where if we go on the other side of the head, these ones are laying more next to each other in a, what's that, parallels, right? Someone help me. I wasn't the greatest with math. So those parallel lines that they're not going to touch each other, right? So then these guys are going more on that angle. Now, why that's super important is if we're going to have fun with arts and crafts. So we'll go with look number 2, right? So we're going to have all of the foils starting at that same side. So we're going to pretend that this string and this yarn is hair. Hopefully, can you guys see that all right? Cool. So when this starts out in the front, we're going to have that beautiful spill of color because anything above the parietal ridge, the hair is going to spill down. It's not going to really live there, right? It's going to be very movable. So if I have that color there, and then I start at that same point and I pivot upwards and I have that spill of color, what you're going to start to find is this color really starts to kind of like lay on top of each other, right? So if you have that color that lays on top of each other, you're going to get a blonder end result, if you will. So again, we're going to do this and pop it up there because each side is only going to take 3 foils. Super fun, right? So then you have your 1, 2, and 3, and you'll see that you have a lot of blonde, not a lot of like open air or like space for that extra dimension. If we go on this side, side 1, and do more of those parallel lines and have the hair straight there, do 1 more here. So we're not going to pop it on top. We're going to go a little bit like next to, right? So this way, this is where we're going to grab a lot more of that dimension. And you're going to actually be able to see those ribbons of color and pick that up rather than on this side. So,
hey Jess,
yeah.
Can you move the, where you have the look to?
Uh-huh.
Can you move that a little more towards the camera?
This way? Does that work?
Hold on, you're a little delayed on my side.
All good. Like, try not to trip over the thing. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Let's not do that, right? So
no,
hopefully, and I can totally take a picture of this too and like put it on my Instagram. So
that would be great.
The reason why like I love this is I am such a visual person, right? So like as we can say, and I think I said this actually in that 90s video that I did, when I was like doing this, I was like, what's the like difference between like conceptualize and visualize, right? So like I'm visualizing something, I can see it, and conceptualizing is like visualizing something and then seeing it through, right? So this like little like hands-on activity allowed me to like conceptualize and like see if I put my foil placement on top of each other like this, then that's where the spill of color is going to be. You see that this is really more on top of each other, right? So that hair, even though I put it at those angles, really ends up falling on top of each other. Where this one, if I pop them just next to each other like neighbors, then you're going to really see a lot more of that like open space, and you'll be really allowed to see a little bit more of that like dimension for that end result.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for you. This is a great question.
Great.
Is 1 for people who wear ponytails a lot?
Is 1 for people who wear ponytails a lot? So I think like that's a great question. So I think what happens, especially up here, I'll take the mannequin off. I know sometimes it's hard to see. Now that we have all the foiling here, what's happening now for what is up on this up here is on that like top of the head. So literally like right here. So if you wear like a ponytail back, this portion of your head, I guess, kind of gets like lost in the ponytail. So I think the whole look is good for like people who wear ponytails because again, we're focusing and we're framing the whole picture as we got like the underneath. So I think you can do both here. I think this is like a little bit more in the consultation where it's like, okay, if you like see a picture of yourself here, do you want your highlights like really heavy on top or do you want them spilled down a little bit more? Does that answer the question for you, hopefully?
Yeah, so there's a second part to it. So
cool.
will look 1 have more dimension and look 2 is going to have more bolder blonde?
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. So look 1 definitely will give you more dimension, and look 2 will give you bolder blonde because since it's on top of each other, it's going to be blonder. Where look 1 gives you a little bit more of like air in between, so that's going to give you more of that like pieced out look. So perfect. Whoever said that, thank you. That was great verbiage.
That's Stephanie, and her final part to that question is that because look 1 is staggered?
Yeah, so that is because look 1 is staggered. So when it comes to the top and what that looks like for here, see if I can pop down the mannequin here. So following what we did on the front is exactly what we would do on each side, right? So if you guys don't mind, for time's sake, we'll pop out this side because we just did it here, right? So we'll pop out this side, and for look 1, what you would end up doing to get more of that like impactful dynamic piece is you're going to focus on taking your foil here. So I'll go on my diagonal back. So they're all going to be diagonal backs for look 1. And I'll go through and I will foil this. So I'm going to go right where that part line is. I'm going to pick up that stitch and that piece of hair that's right on that part line. I'm going to take a skinnier, longer foil again because that matches my section and the length of the hair. And I'm going to put that down, and then following this, I'll give you guys a little bit more of that visual on like where you would, you know, place that staggered on top. So once we have this colored and placed on top there, so for the next foil, what we would do is typically, I feel like what we want to do is like that same section, right? Like go up right on top and like plop that there. So what we're going to do is, again, diagonal back, but I'm going to, instead of marrying my foils like right on top of each other, just kind of like take like a skip to the side. And that's what's going to really, again, help with more of a shadow root and the dynamic end result. So instead of going all the way on top where the part is, I'm just going to go maybe like 1/4 of an inch over and take that out. So then you'll see when I put this foil on top, hopefully you guys can see there where they start is just a little bit of that difference in that room there. So putting this there, perfect. And again, on the top, you definitely want to make sure that you have a little bit more of like that space to the hair as well. So like in between your sectioning.
Great.
Cool. How are we doing out there? Good? Any more questions?
Great.
Liking it?
All right now.
Cool. Awesome.
We've got so many friends out here. I think we should give a shout out to.
I love it. Let's say hi.
From Netherlands to Romania.
Oh, Romania. Hi, Romania.
Pakistan, India.
Very cool.
Of course,
I love
our
it.
U.S. friends.
I love it. I really do love, like, it's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, do you miss, like, traveling? And, like, the answer is, like, an obvious yes. Anyone knows me. If you don't know me, I love traveling. But it's fun because, like, I feel like I'm, like, traveling via this education, too. So it's really nice to, like, stay connected to everyone. I'm like, yeah, it's giving me opportunities to, like, meet people and, like, see your guys' work that maybe I wouldn't have before. So thanks for joining us, guys. I'm not going to cry. It's fine. I'm also a crier. I won't cry. It's great.
Oh, stop.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine. If you know me, I'm a crier. So again, here what you'll see is with these foils, they are staggered. So 1, 2, 3. They're on top of each other. They're kind of like a skip next to it. What I love about this especially is right here, you'll see when we marry into, hold on, there we go. Okay, so when we marry into that back, when this piece of hair falls like down, that's going to match and marry right into this foil that we put here. That was the last foil on the back of her head. So again, creating that really dynamic spill of color gives her like that shadow root, but also gives like that breathability to the hair too. So you get a lot more depth to the hair. So if your guest, or if you're like in a hurry and you got to do that express service and she's like, I just want to be like so much blonder than I am, that's going to change your angle pattern, right? So what we're going to do here is where we come down to more of that look too, where you see everything's a little bit more staggered on top of each other. So with this, what we're going to do here is that pivot. So in that middle section that you have right up here, that is where you're going to pivot from. So after you did like your money piece, wherever that like kind of like angle stops is where you're going to start your next foil. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Cool. So we're going to go pretty extreme with it too. So like what you want to think about is when you're pivoting this and you're going up and up, your last foil is pretty much going to be at, well, I guess whatever way you want to think of it, pretty much either at like a vertical or horizontal. And you're still going to have hair left out in the back that's going to spill over. So don't feel you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have just like one solid stripe. having that hair in the back really helps again to diffuse and spill over it so it doesn't look like just one like unwanted stripe in the back of the head. So say we'll go maybe for more of like a sliced application on this one because why not, right? So we'll go more of that slice application here because she wants to be bolder. So a bolder end result is definitely going to be given with a slice application, right? So go in there. And take that on up. So I did this look twice. And the first time on my mannequin, I didn't go as extreme in my pivoting. And it was fine, but it wasn't what I was looking for. So I like gave in and I was like, it's a mannequin. She's not going to yell at me. And I went more extreme with it. And I was like, oh, that's a really fun end result. So if you look, pretty much like what's happening here, hopefully you guys can maybe see that, is you get like these like pie-shaped sections on the end. So you'll see that's how much hair that I'm skipping in between, even for this like super dynamic spill of color. And then up here, we'll go with another slice. Again, what I'm making sure is I am pivoting right from that point. So I'm making sure everything matches right at that center. What's really nice too is like, it's not gonna give you just like a piece of brightness here because it's separated from the money framing piece. So again, I don't know if you haven't like put it together by now. I'm all about like insurance and like in the hair and having it work for me. So those are just little tips and tricks that like I found that work for me, and I hope you can find that work for you as well. So moving on up into here. And like, if anything, this is like that key piece to like that really quick, fast application to the hair. Is just like this top and really like just taking a moment to rethink about the angles. I always like marry like design work and color like into the same because we use so many angles and sections when we're cutting hair. So how can we take that and put it into color so it like helps us like navigate like what we're looking for a little bit better. Yeah. And then we'll take this last section here. Again, we're going to be pivoting right off of that point. So we have here, here, and if you can see now my comb is pretty like, you know, horizontal or parallel that section. Pushing that on up. And again, I will just take a really nice sliced section here. Put that on there. And there we go. Again, real time behind the chair. You could probably get this done in about like 30 minutes. 40 if you're like kind of like chit-chatting and use your hands like me when you talk, because it definitely takes time away from it. But yeah, I think it's just really something nice that is going to be impactful for your guest. And sometimes, you know, maybe they don't want to be sitting for as long or anything like that as well. So, you know, you can still give them a really, really lovely service. With just a lot less foils and time like being on top of them too, which is pretty cool. And then you'll have this piece at the end. So if you were to say, hey, I want this end look, then you're going to do the same thing on this side. What I would do then is just pivot from the top. So then you end up with that same foil. So you'll see more of the pivot and then more of that like skipped step up there. And again, going back to the mannequin head here, hopefully you guys can tell. I know things are sometimes funny when they read on that. You'll see that it's still, they're both very soft, but I feel like as like stylists, like we can kind of like see that like, okay, here's a lot more, you know, diffused, still has a lot of that movement, a lot more blonde on the top, where over on this side, a little bit more of that like dimensional. You can see like there's like the thicker pieces that run through as well. And this was all done. I did her, this is an Emma Light, so she's around a natural level 7. I utilized the magic wand on her, and then I toned her with our semi 30 grams 10.2 with 30 grams of silver and 2 grams of the zero stroke 1-1 to give that little bit more of a ashy feel to her hair. So you're looking for a really nice like icy blonde formula. That's one of my favorites and one of my go-tos. Do you have any other questions out there for the time being?
No, not right now.
No? Cool. That's pretty nice. So yeah.
6 minutes.
How many minutes?
6.
6 minutes. There we go. All right. Well, yeah, I would say that's what I got for you. I don't know if I've ever written this ahead of time, but that's exciting, right? So on this, I'll take the 6 minutes to chit chat with you guys. Definitely, I want to say thank you guys for like tuning in and watching and learning. Hopefully, some techniques that you can bring behind the chair for all of your guests. You can follow me on Instagram as well as Keune North America to keep up with all education. I love to see what you guys like create when it comes to all of this as well. So feel free to like tag me if you have any questions. This upcoming Wednesday, July 1st already. I don't know how we're in July. We have Built to Last with James Helton at 1 p.m. So he's going to be sharing tips and tricks on styling, correct, Jessica? Right? Yeah. So on styling with some of his fan favorites from Keune, or sometimes products. You're like, what does this do? He'll help you navigate that world a little bit as well. So definitely tune in. It's going to be a great class. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free, pop them into the comments and ask me or send me a direct message. And I'll put all of these as well on my Instagram, all the head sheets, so you guys can have them as well. I'll put them in my stories so you can Snapchat them and utilize them behind the chair. Anything else?
Yeah, just one more question.
Yeah.
If you can revisit the toner, but if you're going to post everything, can you include that, please?
Yeah, for sure. So for the toner, I did 30 grams of our semi 10.2 with 30 grams of our semi silver, with 2 grams of the zero stroke 1-1, the ash mix color, and then that's all the semi. So it's a 1-2 mixing ratio with the. So it was 60 grams or 120 grams of the semi activator in there. I did not account the mix color in there. I let that just be a little extra for the semi. So yeah, but I'll definitely put that in there for you as well because it's a mouthful. But any other questions for you guys that I can help answer? No.
Send us your what you'd love to see in the future.
Yeah,
what you want for the month of August.
Keep letting us know. Definitely, direct message us, leave a comment on here. Let us know what you want to see in the future because we're still doing a lot of live online education, and we want to bring to you what you want to see from us. So if you leave that in the comments, and we have a whole bunch of education coming up for into August, or from July into August. So yeah, help us create some content and ideas and what you'd love to see. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys. So thank you very, very much again. And I hope that you enjoy your Monday wherever you are. And I know, like they said, headed back into the salon. So enjoy being back into your second homes. And yeah, everyone stay healthy and stay safe. And I hope to see you all. Thanks, everyone.